Well, today is Wednesday, May 20th, 2026, and apologize I haven't done this in a while, but I haven't found anything inspirational with all the other stuff that's going on in this world. I mean, things were inspirational, but I just didn't feel um, the desire to try to share those things. But I came across several today, and one in particular um, piqued my interest, and I thought it might be good to share that particular one with you today, and have it spark some thought in your own mind, and perhaps give you some ideas and some hope to bring into the world. The one I'll be reading today is from the United Church of Christ Daily Devotional, and it's entitled One Hand, written by Kenneth L. Samuel. And Kenneth is a minister of a large UCC church in Decatur, Georgia. I think it's north of Atlanta, somewhere around there. Anyway, Kenneth bases the devotion upon Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 15 and 18 through 19 from the New Living Translation of the Christian Bible. Again, a message came to me from the Lord. When your people ask you what your actions mean, say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will take Ephraim and the northern tribes and join them to Judah. I will make them one piece of wood in my hand. And then Kenneth writes, celebrations and expressions of diversity always pique my interest. I visited the Crazy Horse Memorial in South Dakota and listened to Native Americans talk about why the memorial and the Black Hills region itself are so significant to their culture. I've talked to Muslims in Dubai during Ramadan and gained so much insight into why Muslims designate a special time of the year to abstain from certain pleasures in order to focus on spiritual integrity and family unity. I've dialogued with students in the Philippines wrestling with the theological quest to be true to the gospel of Christ while being responsible leaders in a repressive political context. Diversity allows us to discover ourselves through the lenses of people who are very different from us. Yet the wondrous diversity of the globe must still acknowledge the oneness of the globe itself. All human diversity is some variant of the same humanity. Elections in Paris, France remind people in Paris, Tennessee, of how crucially interdependent the democracies of the world are. Global economic instability highlights the impact of divergent nations and corporations on people worldwide, their shared destinies all in one hand. Pandemics, hurricanes, wildfires all remind us that everyone on the planet is in the hand of one global environment. The universal need for Sabbath reminds us that despite our religious distinctions, we are all in the hand of one transcendent ground of being. And then Kenneth's prayer. Lord, when we allow our differences to divide us, please continue to remind us that you still got the whole wide world in your hand. This one piqued my interest because I also saw a video today from Rick Steves, the travelogue person, and in that interview that he was in on TikTok, he talked about how travel reminds us of our humanity. And I think that's so important. When we live ourselves in a contained world in a certain bubble and don't experience things outside that, we think everyone is like us. And yet when we travel, we find out that's true and not true at the same time. We're all human beings. We share a lot in common, and yet we are all different. And our differences aren't good or bad, they're just differences. That was one thing I tried to get across when I was sent to Germany for a couple of years in my previous occupation prior to ministry. One of my goals was to help build relationships between our German division and our U.S. division, helping people understand that yes, there are differences in how we think and how we react and how we work together on projects, but the differences aren't necessarily good or bad. They're just differences, and we really need to just understand that and accept that diversity is good, and it helps us to think in new and different ways, and helps us to understand our humanity, our shared humanity. And so when all this was going through my head as I was reading this devotional from Kenneth Samuel, just understanding that the more we travel, the more we engage with other people, with other cultures, with other religious beliefs or non-religious beliefs, the broader our understanding is, an acceptance of our shared humanity, which in my mind is one sense that he talks about the ground of being, that whether you believe there is a God or not, there is something that it connects us together in our shared humanity. There is something that connects us to the world in the diversity of creation, and throughout our solar system and our galaxy and our universe, that we are all living in this together, and the diversity is a natural part of being and not something to be fought. The other thing I was thinking about is, with this diversity as well, Kenneth talks about global economic instability, highlights the impact of divergent nations and corporations on people worldwide, their shared destinies all on one hand. Any political leader who thinks that they can isolate themselves from the rest of the world at this point in time is completely ignorant, if not uneducated, and our lives are all interconnected, and we can see how decisions that we make here affect the globe and not just us, and vice versa. Things that are happening in other countries also end up impacting us as well, and our lives are all interconnected, and we need to understand that, and understand that our connection is important and can't be ignored, and we can't isolate ourselves completely from the rest of the world, but rather have to become part of the whole and recognize our interconnectedness and our ground of being, if you will. So there's just some of the thoughts that came to my mind, and I do think, whatever you call it, whether it's meditation or prayer, centering yourself in the place where you are, and then recognizing your body and its connection to the earth, and getting outside of your thoughts, your head, helps you to feel that interconnectedness and to understand that that transcendent ground of being. I know it's kind of went all over the place, but that's kind of where I was today with this, and I just thought it'd be worth sharing, get you to think in different ways, and understand your connection to other people. Build upon our diversity rather than using the diversity to divide us, as some are wont to do in our nation today.